tuning in the program called What's Going on FlintTalkRadio.com. I'm George Moss, the host of the program, and every second and fourth Monday, like clockwork, my co-host is here.
See Jumbo.
And she's here before I get here at the studio. She's so glad to be here to do the program, both the one that comes on from 2 o'clock to 3 every Monday, and she's here the second and fourth, and then she does her own programs thereafter at 3:30. Going about 30 minutes, and I have to rush home after this program is over to see it live, which I always enjoy catching it as it is being taped.
And it's called Sartorius Black History Corner.
And I should say that. Okay, well, Catherine, I want to start out today. And by the way, it's raining outside here in Flint, so I don't know if that's an omen or not, John, for the basketball game this evening, but go blue. And I have to say these things in order to maintain.
Is that Wolverines?
The Wolverines are playing tonight. They're playing against Louisville, and we're on a roll right now, and we got to shut these guys down and show them who the daddy is. So go blue, and we'll be cheering for you tonight.
So go blue, Wolverines.
The Wolverines, and I don't know what John's pick is, but if he says he's not picking the Wolverines, I have to close the studio down.
And what time that game is on tonight?
That game starts at 9 o'clock. I think the game may start a little bit later, like 9:30, but I'm going to be there. Just to be on the safe side, I'll be there at 9 o'clock. Okay. And I'm assuming...
Are you going to the actual game?
No, I'm not going to the actual game. I'll be watching it on television.
Okay.
I enjoy the games better when I'm watching it on TV because I can see the instant replays. Mm-hmm. I go to these stadiums and they're not playing. They play over again. I missed it. I was talking to somebody and
I thought they would show them up on screen or something.
Yeah, if they don't do that, and then they do it every time they have a time out. They have the commentators talking also, and I enjoy having their input because I can't figure out what's going on out there. Tell me what's happening.
All the years I've been at U of M and I was there and I worked there and I was a student there, I never went to a football game down Ann Arbor or a basketball game, but that's still on my to-do list because I think it's like one of the largest stadiums in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, down there, down there in Ann Arbor. So that's an
where
amazing
they're playing
size.
at in Ann Arbor.
No, they're playing this game in Atlanta. But when they play football, they're playing in one of the largest stadiums in the country, which seats comfortably 106,000 people. And I tell you, my first time going to a game between Michigan and Ohio State, and I didn't know how serious it was. I had just gotten in town, so what did I know? I went to this game down in Ohio, and the cheerleaders, they try to disrespect us, and we try to diss them when they come here. And the cheerleaders were saying, "Beat Michigan." They weren't saying Michigan; they were saying Michigan. So my friend and I, we were in the Ohio State section. Anyway, we could sit down. That's where we were sitting. We were sitting over there with the Ohio State crowd. So every time the cheerleaders would say, "Beat Michigan," we say, "That's Michigan." And before we knew it, the cheerleaders turned the whole crowd on and said, "There are two guys right here from Michigan." You can believe it. Everybody in that stadium turned around to look at us, and I tell you, I got quiet the rest of the game. I was totally intimidated.
John, you were recognized that you were a student at University of Michigan?
I am.
That's how people recognize you.
Oh.
You used to go to the University of Michigan?
Yeah.
I
didn't know that, but it's right on my Facebook profile. But I was there from...
When John was down at University of Michigan, he was not down as a student, he was down as a teacher.
He must have made an impact down there because that's how they...
John was down there teaching, by the way, because he had read Nietzsche and all these other philosophers. He's now teaching the philosophy department.
Okay.
I would like to be a college professor. I think it'd probably be a good. I think it'd be a good job.
Well, you have an impact on people
like
because when you say John Wilson, the guy that went to the University of Michigan down here in Flint, yeah.
John, they were glad when you graduated because they couldn't teach anything down there. They got tired of you interrupting the class with your questions.
Actually, I took so many classes, man. I was like a perennial student, but I also worked there for better part of 15 years. So
wow.
So that was a long time.
We never ran into each other down there.
Well, you just started. You started teaching after I left.
Okay, and then I was working in the night program. So when I was first down there, and I was down there about 15 years or so before. I mean, this is about my 15th year. But I was working nighttime because I was teaching public school on a full-time basis.
So I left there in 2001.
But once a Wolverine, always a Wolverine. I've been to a lot of the other schools and got masters from other institutions outside of the University of Michigan. And I have to tell you that I still feel like I'm a Wolverine first and foremost. And I think that's because they're paying me my salary now. If it was Ohio State.
I know they recognize you, too, by, you mentioned Mr. George Moss, Beecher.
Yeah, they pretty much know that 39 years out there when I was out there trying to bring forth the future, and I was very serious about it. I'm shocked that I was able to retire out there because I was always, getting in trouble with the administration because I was not going by the book.
But you had such an impact on those students.
Yeah, I think that's what teachers need to do, though, Catherine.
You had a great impact, and even after they done left school and been through whatever life changes go through,
reproduce yourself and your students.
Moss. That's what it's about, reproducing yourself.
Yeah, you have to replicate yourself.
Yep.
Catherine, let me run this by you. Were you surprised to find out last week, April the 4th, that this marked the 45th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination?
No.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that something that 45 years have passed? Does it seem like 45 years?
Every year they say he would have been this age.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine him being 80-some years old.
And he started as a young man. Doing
26 years old, and then
rights,
died at the age of 39, 13 years of which was spent in the civil rights movement. And although he wasn't meant to break, he did bend, but he continued on his mission, and I have to respect that. But when everybody was calling about some comment about Dr. King, and I didn't first of all get that this was the 45th anniversary, but when they were calling, I had to go and do the math and see why that was such a outstanding date this year than it was last year, and then it was when I began to see it was 45 years. And I'm sure they'll be doing just as much, if not more, on the 50th.
I rather celebrate what he did in life rather than.
Yeah, that's my view also.
People was doing this with Malcolm X too. They would celebrate his death.
Yeah,
remember that? They would have programs and stuff, and I said I don't get that one. Celebrate the man's life.
Yeah, that's a good point, Catherine.
His life and legacy that he left.
Yeah, I still. Do you know where you were when the news came across that Dr. King had been shot?
Married with children.
You watching the program?
No, I was married.
Oh, you're married with children. When the program hadn't started at that point on Fox.
Yeah. I was in school when Kennedy died, and they announced it over the PA.
Yeah.
But no, I was married with cheering.
I can remember that date and what I was doing, and when I heard the announcement. In fact, I was at a friend's house down the street, and when the announcement came across the airways, I just got up out of my seat, sitting on the front porch, and just simply walked home. I was.
Everybody was kind of stunned.
It was stunning to me. I just did not.
And then they reacted.
We always knew the possibility, but I was stunned to hear the news. And then the next day, I had to go in the classroom, and King was in our living room every day, so we all felt personally affronted by his death. And he go in there with the 7th grade class, and we had to go in there and try to make some sense of it to them. And then June, here was Robert Kennedy getting assassinated. It was some very turbulent times. The 60s was really a turbulent period of time. But 45 years have passed, and that was just a marquee, that was a milestone, and I'm glad it was acknowledged by the media here locally, and they wanted some comments about it from several of the local people. The other thing, though, Catherine, did you take note of what was going on in Detroit when they had the new, well, it's not new, but the EFM, they call him, the Emergency Finance Manager, taking over Detroit, and Malik Shabazz, the Panthers show up every time there's something that is going on where they can make a black-white issue out of it.
So did, what's his name, Jesse Jackson.
And Jackson. Every time they can make something racial, you see these same people showing up on the scene. I like to see them show up just one time for this 89-year-old woman that I just got through reading about a few minutes before I left coming to the studio today, and that was the woman that befriended some teenagers as she was at this fast food restaurant, and they asked her for a ride.
Oh,
and
she gave him a ride.
She first of all thought about not giving him a ride, but once she thought about it, trying to do a good deed, and she told him, "Come on, I'll give you a ride," and she ends up getting robbed, and they put her in the trunk where she stayed 2 days. And for some reason, they thought about after the 2-day period, I don't know if they thought she was dead or something, they dumped her in the cemetery. And the woman crawled out on all fours, went out to the street where a person could see her, and was surprised that persons found her and picked her up. She said she didn't know who it was, but thankful for the fact that somebody found her and then took her to the hospital.
That wasn't good enough news to bring. Sharpton in.
No, it wasn't.
Sharpton and Jesse Jackson.
Yeah, but anything brings them in if it's black white. It can be minor things, and they can even make some stuff up like they did in the George Zimmerman trial, where they took this Hispanic and turned him into a white person, then began to protested.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
We're going to read some out of this book in just a minute about what's going on with that. It's a book called Winning the Race by John McWhorter. And before we close out, I will be reading some things about that I brought to the studio. But I think we need to protest these kinds of things that are going on to show that these things are not acceptable in our community. And our silence about these kinds of incidents speaks volumes. And I don't think you're going to get it nailed down and get it stopped until you begin to make some public
Jesse
display of
Jackson
outrage over
and
it.
Al Sharpton are not coming in unless they're being paid.
Being paid.
So, in other words, the people didn't pick up this woman's cause.
Mm-hmm.
You know, locally, Kincaid and Bishop Bernadette Jefferson are suing this Snyder about the emergency manager that he violated civil liberties and civil rights.
Yeah,
y'all heard about that one?
Yeah, we heard about that, and I'll tell you something. It makes no sense at all if we understand even the basic things.
Voting rights. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they claim that they're
both of them.
Yeah, that's an interesting proposition too. That they want to claim that they have been disenfranchised by the replacement of the elected officials. Well, who are the elected officials? Well, one of them, John Conyers' wife, Monica, she's in jail.
I'm talking about Flint.
Oh, you're talking about Flint?
Yeah.
Well, even it doesn't. All of them
are Kincaid now.
Yeah, you're talking about Flint here.
Yeah.
They're pretty much the same. You know, the question is, who were the managers before the EFM was in fact appointed? And in Flint,
usually they have Flint had a city manager, didn't they?
Yeah, emergency. It's a finance manager. The state appoints. The governor appoints, and they bring different ones in.
So the governor be the one who appoints the finance manager or city manager in the city of Flint?
Yes, he does.
I thought we did that.
No, the governor decides, which is his prerogative.
I'm not talking about the emergency manager and all that. I'm talking about just say if we had a actual election and we voted in Wayne, what's his name, the mayor, Walling.
Dane
Walling, and had him in there, and it's just on the city is moving on up and up. I thought he appointed his financial or city manager.
Well, he does, but if the finances of the city are such that the city is in harm's way and in jeopardy and cannot be resolved by the local community because of the politics in place.
Then the government comes in.
The government pushes those persons aside, and it does have the prerogative to do that. They want to talk about they're being disfranchised. Well, the person that appoints the emergency financial manager that pushed these guys to the side, he's an elected official also, and they have some input in terms of electing the governor. So how is this disenfranchisement if the government makes that decision? It also doesn't recognize the federal structure that we have in place. Local communities are not recognized in the federal structure. It's the federal government and the states, and the local communities that are delegated in the state's name are only serving at the behest of the states.
Well, how is it violating their civil rights and civil liberties? I know it might be violating their voting rights because voting, we voted in this mayor and then he gets pushed to the side. But how does civil rights or civil liberties come in that?
That's an interesting question because when something's ran so ineptly, it has to be taken away from somebody who was handling it that way and given in a hand. I mean, I don't like the emergency manager situation. Obviously, it has a big impact on what happened with the farmers market. The Flint farmers market.
Yeah, and Genesee Towers too.
Well, yeah,
sold it for $1 after.
Right. So
the city of Flint people bought the building with their taxes.
Right. So it's wrong to do it, but. The city. We're basically.
Fight for some. Get off.
We got to get more. We got to get more people involved in politics who are more informed and who are at least willing to sit down and learn the strategies and also what's going on, rather than just a popularity contest. Like I'll say it outright. The populars. They should not be elected because obviously they don't know what's going on. I mean, they don't know what they're doing is wrong. So they should be knowing what they should have knowledge of what they're allowed to do. But we allowed her to get away with basically trying to. Strong arm a party store owner into giving her extra money. I forgot if it was Jackie or Donna, but the extra money for her education fund is almost like a condition for him getting his renewal for his licensing.
Donna Poplar.
See, that was so egregious that people say, "Oh, she didn't know what she was doing was wrong." That's
what happened a long time ago.
Yeah, but but it's wrong. I mean, that's just an example. One example. You already alluded to the other ones, and those are a while ago too. We should not have people doing stuff that they don't know what they're doing. I mean, they should say, here, if you want to be a councilman, here's what this means. Here's what these laws are. You got to follow them. And have classes for these people. Not just let them run amok and mayhem and do stuff like they're doing, and they've done. So, I mean, I don't think it's racist to put the emergency manager, and that's why I don't like that idea that they're saying they're being denied their civil rights or civil liberties. I don't see how that's possible.
I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I don't either.
And why did they fight, come up with something when they sold Genesee Towers for $1 to the Uptown Development? Few people raised a little concern, but they really didn't rise up like they should have to me.
We should, the American people in the city, if you just want to look at the city of Flint as microcosm, we should have been wanting people's heads long ago. We just said, oh, that's okay. They're the Poplars and all these other people. Well, they're nice people. They're well-intended. They're idiots. If you're going to be in that role, you should find out what you can and cannot do, what implications and what ramifications and consequences your actions can have on you and your city.
Knows exactly what he can do because he sold that building for $1. Well, after the people paid taxes for it, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, if you, I don't know if you saw the interview I did with, we brought in Terry Baker last week. He was talking about the farmers market, and if you want to, I'll refer to that, because it's kind of promoting it. But
it's the newest one.
Actually, he talks about that too, about the basically how this is basically cronyism going on here. And so you might want to go watch that, that interview. He just spoke on his own. He was like 24 minutes. But I apologize, you take over your show here.
No, I'm listening to what you're saying.
But you straight. This is all so pertinent. I mean, and
it's
so
cronyism.
It's what happened. Well,
they moving the farmers market to the Flint Journal old building. Through cronyism?
Well, it's like basically, if you look at it through manipulation, it's actually robbing the people of the city of Flint of an asset. Basically, now this private organ, this was Terry Banker's case, that he said that basically they're taking an asset that was developed by the people of Flint with their money and giving it to the hands of people who are, it's a nonprofit private organization, and now it's in the hands of them, and they're taking an asset over. Basically, what he sees with shutting down this current farmers market and moving it is basically closing up the market because it's no longer the same entity now. And he outlined several. He outlined, but it is fraud, favoritism, cronyism. You're parting out your city's assets.
Maybe some nepotism in there too.
Well, I don't know, but anyway, I'm sorry about that. You should listen to, if you get a chance to listen to
Terry Banker. Okay.
I'll send you the link.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Terry and I are doing a Wednesday program, by the way, John, on 600 a.m. It started last Wednesday, and we are coming across the airways at 600 a.m. On your dial at 10:30, from 10:30 to 11 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Where?
This is a radio station down on Saginaw Street going toward Grand Blanc Township.
Oh, okay.
And
because he has a show on WFLT too.
Yes, he does. He told me the time that program comes on.
I think it's on a Saturday. But Terry Baker I have known him for
Does he still
decades.
do it? Yeah, I wonder if he still does the show. I mean, for any listener, he was a former Flint City ombudsman, and one of the better ones that I can recall. I actually had to deal with him back at that time frame, and he was a very conscientious individual.
And very politically active.
Terry and I have locked horns several times on political issues, but the man has integrity. I got to say that.
Yeah.
And he's astute on political activity here in the city of Flint, because I've been knowing him for decades, about as longer than I've known you, George.
Yeah, I've had quality dealings with him when he was the ombudsman here in the city of Flint. I do want to say this, though, about this accusation that this is inappropriate on the part of the governor to come in and appoint an emergency manager. The fact of the matter is that is incorrect on two levels, one of which is that the governor is within his purview, it is within his prerogative to appoint if the city, in his estimation, and we see the financial condition of these urban communities like Detroit and Flint.
Ben Harbor. A lot of people forget about Ben Harbor. Ben Harbor was one of the first. And they went through a lot of things following that.
Yes, and so what do you do if you find, for example, in Detroit's case, $327 million in debt? And
they fought a good fight to keep it from happening, though.
And unfunded.
I knew they was going to lose that one.
and unfunded liabilities go to the estimated $14 billion. We're talking here about people coming in talking about they've been disenfranchised. What about the fact that we have Monica Conyers, who was on the city council, who was in jail? She's
out.
And well, she was in jail, and in jail for mismanaging the city's finances and taking bribes under the table. Okay, she's out. She was in there.
And
Kwame Kilpatrick, who is he's not in Nkrumah. Make that very clear. And Nkrumah was the president of Ghana from 1957 until 1966. The 9 years he served over in Ghana before they threw him out, and he had to go to Guinea and where he stayed the rest of his life until he died in 1972. But Kwame Kilpatrick is in jail now. They would not even give him a bond, which was
they done arrested him again.
His mother was trying to put the house up as collateral, and because of the fact he was convicted of 24 or 30 different counts of malfeasance while he was in office, the judge turned down even the request for bail bond pending trial. I mean, why don't we claim that we're being disenfranchised with this kind of leadership that we have? And I'm talking about not just these mayors and the people on city council. It goes all the way up to the Congress with the Congressional Black Caucus. There's no representation up there in these urban cities. Every town, every city, every district they're over in the Black Caucus looks like Nagasaki or Hiroshima after the bombing occurred. There are no districts where these members are over, where those districts are doing well economically. They've been mismanaged by these politicians, and then they want to talk about they being disenfranchised when they can make a racial issue out of it. Keep race in front of us where they don't have to fix anything, because once we hear race, we're ready to run off with the cavalry to resolve the problem. I'm going to read that later on when we get to that point. But let's go to a couple of other issues before we get to
nuclear.
Yeah, let's go to
bombing.
I want to talk about this because that's on my Facebook wall. We're talking about the thing that's going on with North Korea. You and I were talking about that before.
Yeah, it's kind of don't have us the American people in a delusion that this can't happen, even though they feel we have the artillery, military, and all that to counteract that. But it's just, I just don't like the way it's going. It's keeping you like, okay, and you ain't paying it no attention, but I feel you should.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's my feeling.
Let me run this question by you. When is the last time, John, this is a question for you too. You're a graduate of University of Michigan. We're getting ready to play the basketball game tonight. That's important. When was the last time we had an occupier country that actually, I'm not talking about individuals, a country that actually attacked America on his own soil? Give me your best guess.
Japanese.
No, I'm talking.
An occupied country.
On the continental soil, or a state. Let's say this. Let me limit it to the states. When's the last time we had an occupier in this country that was attacking us within the confines of the territorial boundaries of the United States?
During World War II, we had an attack on the West Coast by the Japanese. A couple of them, actually. A couple of bombs actually dropped off of balloons that they were sent over. I don't know if that's answering your question, but I know that there was actually an attack upon. This is Washington, I think it was, the state of Washington.
Was also, that was in World War II.
Well, it wasn't a state of the United. That was just a territory in the country. It became a state after the Second World War. It became a state in the 1950s.
I really don't after they dropped them 2 bombs over there on Hiroshima and over there in Japan. I don't remember anybody else messing with us that way.
Well, no, it's like, as I say, can't recall that, but I mean, I know during World War II we did have attacks on the West Coast.
You don't remember when they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima?
Well, I wasn't there personally, but yeah, but that was in the 1940s. But yeah, I mean, Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Yeah. See, I knew you knew about it.
Well, I'll tell you somebody who better know about it, and that is this thug in North Korea, Kim Jong-un.
And I heard that that North Korea is a small smaller than some of our states in this country.
North Korea is the size of Pennsylvania. So you can see what we're talking about. The reason why we have not had a country to attack the United States, they are certainly passing off weaponry to surrogates that can move around like in caves and hide out and do guerrilla type attacks. But a government in a country sits in a particular place. And we're talking here about a third world nation, that's North Korea, that has 24 million people in it. We have 300 million plus in this country here. They have 24 million people. 2/3 of the people in North Korea are malnourished, and millions of them.
But why is he doing
starving.
this? Well, I mean, what is his purpose?
There's both sides are making political use of it. One is
sure of that.
Well, I want to talk about both sides of it in terms of how each of them is making something out of this that's serving both sides' political interests. On the one hand, Kim Jong-un, who took over from his dictatorial father, Kim Jong-il, who died a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago. And, of course, they had everybody out there in the square acting like they were in tears because this dictator had died. I haven't seen a tear yet.
Oh, we seen that was false. And, they was made to do it.
Yeah, they were out there acting like they were so broken up over it. They had better be out there. And now this guy comes in. He's only 30 years old, and he doesn't have any spurs. He hasn't proven anything. And his country is being there's sanctions that have been tightened on his country. And in a dictatorial regime, any sign of weakness is a threat to your regime because you don't have any kind of legitimacy. Nobody has given you a mandate to rule. And for him to be to be put upon by the international community, those who have kowtowed in North Korea want to ask, what is he going to do about it? So he has all this blustering that's going on. Excuse me, about he's going to attack the United States, and we're going to send nuclear weapons. By the way, he's named the cities where it's going to occur. We never seen that before. You're going to attack, and then you're going to tell us what to prepare
for. It's going.
For the attack.
I don't understand none of this at all.
Going to take place.
Usually, it's a quiet affair, and it just happens.
Yeah, that's his part, and all he's doing is running his mouth. His government sits in a particular place, and he understands what that means. And what it means is North Korea, the size of Pennsylvania, a country that has 2/3 of its people malnourished. We're talking about a continued winter for that country, and if it even survives, because we're not talking about turning the other cheek if you fire a rocket on this soil here, and he knows that. That's all made for the North Koreans. It's basically for the ears of his military generals. He cannot appear weak because dictators have no mandate to govern. That's what he gets out of it. On the other hand, what the U.S. gets out of it is that they just had this sequester that just took place. And they were, war is me, look what they're doing, the cutbacks, we can't afford it, it's going to hurt the military, going to hurt this, hurt that, we can't have everybody in Washington.
Yes.
So they get a benefit out of it by claiming that we are now threatened by look at the threats outside the country. And these cutbacks, whether roll back some parts of what government is in fact doing, save some money somewhere, is unpalatable because the threats are real out here.
Are real.
And have you seen Kim Jong-un lunch anything? I'm gonna make a prediction here, and that is that he better not lunch anything. You can fool some people with getting there on top of the mountain. Yeah, have you seen that picture, Catherine? He gets on top of the mountain and get the binoculars out. Have you seen that picture?
With that guy,
Kim Jong-un. He's on top of a mountain. Have you seen that? And he's got that scowl on his face. You got to have a scowl on your face. You see, you got to show you're mad. And you are, in fact, a warrior. You're fearless.
I didn't know he was on top of a mountain. I thought I seen him on a building, a balcony.
I saw a better version of that in the movie called King Kong. You know, the one where they grabbed the planes out of the sky and threw them out. He's going to grab the plane, swat them out of the sky. He didn't even have his bodyguards around him. He's so bad. And he's got these binoculars on. He's looking through the glass. Just send a plane over here is what he's saying. And he's on top of the mountain. And if a plane comes, he's going to do what? He's going to be King Kong. Going to swat it out of the air. Now, we all know that if planes are coming, the last thing you want to do is be on the mountain. We learned that from King. King went on the mountain April the 3rd, and he only lasted a day. You don't go on top of the mountain unless you got a bazooka up there. He didn't have any weapons. So I knew that wasn't real. And he knows ain't no plane coming, but he better not send any planes even remotely over here, or you're gonna have a wake-up call. And both sides know that. That's why you hear these people talking about, here's one comment they made in the State Department. Hagel made this comment, Charles Hagel. They call him Chuck Hagel. I don't know where you get Chuck from. His name is Charles, and I have no Chuck anywhere in sight. I don't know him personally, and I don't want to know him. But what he was saying out there was, if they attack us, we're going to defend ourselves. Well, hello about that. I thought that we were going to turn the other cheek.
No.
We're going to defend ourselves. You know what I would have said to this thug? If you so much as point a weapon over here, that's why I don't get no appointments. Because I just have to be upfront and frank. If you so much as point a weapon at this country or any of our allies, you're going to get bombed back to, well, you're already in the Stone Age. We're going to bomb you back to the pre-Stone Age period.
They sent a stealth over there. Went all the way over there. Turned around, when he was doing the little threats and everything. It went all the way over there from America, all the way there, turned around and came back home with not ever have to fill up or anything.
And you know what? With that stealth bomber they set up over there, radar didn't even pick it up because that's why they call it stealth. You don't even know what's up there.
Besides, the technology the North Koreans possibly have is probably in the 1970s at best.
At best.
And see, my dad was in Korea. My dad was there in the height of the hostilities back in the 50s.
Didn't the United States have a war with them?
Well, with him?
Korean War.
Well, we were part of the peacekeeping efforts. I think there was 12 nations comprised of UN members. With the United States being probably 99% of it. And there was the people from Australia, England, Greece, Turkey, and that. And then over there, my dad was over there. He was a demolition expert over there and a heavy equipment operator for the Army Corps of Engineers. He was a combat engineer. And he said that my dad died in 2005, and we were talking about this about a year or two before he died. And he said, North Korea is going to start crap up again because half their population's starving. And he said, matter of fact, if we go in there, like I was going to say, if we're going to go in there, if we annihilate half the people, we're doing them a great service. That's for the biggest issues they got too many people for what the resources are. And that's
great
he knows
service,
that.
John.
What?
You said we would be doing a great service by killing a lot of people.
The communists don't care how many people they butcher because they believe it. The world's like an omelet. To make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs.
The United States thinks the same way.
Huh?
The United States.
No, we're not. We don't kill millions of our own people. Not yet, anyway.
Dictatorships are like that, Catherine.
The United States is not like that.
How many millions of people have died on our shores? Do you know anybody who's passed and marched off the camps and butchered?
We don't have that. We don't have that record.
We don't have that kind of stuff here.
No, we don't have that kind of record here.
Sacrifice one person to save.
Not when the government kills its own citizens wholesale, like they did, for example, I'm reading this book right now by Chong, where Mao is responsible for 38 million deaths even in peacetime.
Oh, okay.
And then 70 million deaths in terms of his holistic
Tiananmen Square,
leadership.
That's in China. China's Mao.
Under the new leadership.
Communist.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about...
Yeah, they would kill their people.
I'm talking about the wholesale murder that occurred by these ruthless leaders. Every last one of them. This is what dictatorships do. You don't have any rights, and you better not speak out against the regime. This wearing his shirt and all that, that's what they do over here. They wouldn't do it over there. And you better keep your mouth closed. But... in terms of these dictators like this thug in North Korea, and that's what he is, basically a thug. This guy was,
He's only 30 years old.
Yeah, he's
a
30-year-old
been there only
thug,
a year?
Well,
he don't even know what he's doing.
Okay, people rail about the capitalists leaving their kids all that money and stuff, and they got brand new sports cars. Basically, his old man kicked off and left him the keys to a country, and he wants to take it out for a spin, and he wants to destroy it, half of it in the process. But nobody's going to say anything because they're communists. That's true. That's true. Party of the working class and all that stuff. There, isn't it? Workers' rights. Power to the people. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, the first one. They want to talk about power to the people. Like these thugs care anything about the people. The first ones that Mao Zedong, who was a collaborationist, with the Japanese. They talking about the long march from the mountains to Beijing, where he took over power in 1949 from Chiang Kai-shek. The fact of the matter is that's a myth that they created around Mao. You read the book, and I read the book, and I'll tell you that he was a collaboration with the Japanese. He, in fact, encouraged them to take over most of the land of China. And through that collaboration, he came into power, and all the other stuff they created around him was a mythical creation of those that made him into a folk hero. The first ones he purged were the peasants. By the way, we getting ready to see a repeat of that in Venezuela. You ever seen the beginning point of it? Everybody's trying to say that Hugo Chavez was this great statesman, and he was for the poor, and so on and so forth. You
said they finna purge the poor over in Venezuela.
They're getting ready right now you getting ready to see right now.
Is that ethnic cleansing?
Well, when I say getting ready to see an example of something similar in Venezuela, we had a populist leader over there who was quote unquote for the poor. You can claim to be for the poor publicly by taking the money of the rich and giving it to them. And so on and so forth. But what's going to happen when the rich do not produce anything because you're confiscating their wealth? And then when you can't give anything to the poor to keep them quiet, the Chapman, the woman said, give them candy. What was that song she put out? Talking about Chapman. What's Chapman's, the folk singer's name?
Tracy Chapman?
Tracy Chapman. When you say, give them this, give them candy. Well, what happens when you can't give them candy? And you can no longer give them that which you've appropriated from another group that earned the wealth and gave it to the masses, which is they're more numerical in numbers, so they're glad they're getting free stuff. But when this free stuff is not available, what do you do to keep them under control? The tyranny comes out. And that's what I'm talking about with Maduro, who is going to be the one, looks like he's going to win over Capriles, who is the person running against him. The guy, Capriles, ran against Hugo Chavez, by the way, and got 40% of the vote in the last election, and he's running now in his own right for president.
So would he be a dictator, you think? Or?
And he will have to use other measures to keep the people under control because there's no more wealth to be appropriated and given to the poor. Chavez, over the 14 years, has already done that work, and if he had been alive, he would be in trouble along that line because that's what socialist states do. They start out on the fumes of capitalism, and they have wealth to give to be populist leaders, but over the long haul, they become Mao Zedong.
That's what even communists or Marxists will say that capitalism is the best transformative power in allowed, because what it does is it can galvanize people because they're motivated to profit or bettering themselves. Then what you do is then you try to seize it upon that, But ironically, the countries that actually fell into communist hands were countries that didn't go through the capitalist, industrialization and stuff like Russia and China. They hadn't gone through that yet. Russia was very backwards in comparison to the rest of Europe. It was just trying to get started as being an economic powerhouse. It had Germany, England, and France to actually contend with on that. And so, but ironically, that's where that developed. And that's the reason why some say, the Marxists will say, that's the reason why the brutal form of communism took place because they were so backward. They were using it as an excuse. Yeah.
When Mao died in 1976, after 27 years of what is nothing but a reign of terror, I mean, you can wear a shirt, you can wear a Che Guevara shirt, but when you get to what those communists have actually done with those countries, that includes Castro and all you Castro lovers, go read, get your facts straight. What these tyrants do, having no mandate, you're going to be quiet there, or you're going to be dealt with. And that's in every dictatorial government that has ever been on the earth, and they're not any exceptions to the rule.
What is this about Beyonce and Jay-Z over there in Cuba? They making a big stink about it.
Well, because their State Department, Americans are not supposed to be going to Cuba. I mean, I'm not for that either.
I'm not supposed to go get no money there, and that's what they were doing.
That's what there's prohibition against that. I mean, I'm not for it. I think if we'd actually not had those sanctions against Cuba, Castro would not lasted as long as he had. I don't think, or the family. I don't think they would have. But why are these people, these entertainers, violating U.S. law?
And Rodman went over there to see that guy Kim. I mean, what's up with these people?
Yeah, outside of the anti-American and they're not patriotic. We have an internal enemy inside this country where there are people who have no patriotism. In fact, I tell you what I contend, and
wow.
I tell you what I contend, Catherine. I'm going to read something, but I want to make this contention public. My contention is that one of the biggest problems that Black America has right now is not racism, but the lack of patriotism among blacks. In other words, we have given up on the country, and because we've given up on the country,
we or some.
We have given up. I don't mean everybody. It's never going to be everybody. But I'm talking about an overwhelming number of blacks have given up. And that's why our efforts are not what they once were, when we were, in fact, going to not only edify the black community, we're going to actually change this country and turn it into the place where we are going to make it true to what it actually called for. I hear that in King's voice. When King said, "I'm disappointed in America," he said, "but where there's no great love, there can be no great disappointment." You hear black people talking like that anymore?
Mm-mm.
No. Who talks like this? Here's what King said in 1963. He said, "I have a dream. It is deeply rooted in the American dream." That's not opposition. That's embracement. And where do you see that now? You got. I was telling somebody this past Saturday in our breakfast, meeting, that when I was in school, I never saw black people with their heads on the desk. I don't know about other places in the country. I can tell you what it was in Birmingham. We didn't put our heads on the desk. We were too busy trying to get a different condition to prevail in our community, and we were not going to be stopped.
So these people, Dennis Rodman and Beyonce and her husband, have given up on America, and they are doing it. They are so very public. In fact, you see Dennis Rodman everywhere now.
Yeah,
he had just about disappeared from the scene.
Yeah, telling us that we need to get Barack Obama and Kim Jong Un on the basketball court. They can just get a basketball league.
Yeah,
everything would fall in place. What we have here is that it's amazing to me that you could have people claiming then the only country where their wealth would have been possible, they're saying that
it's here in America,
there are
both of them.
These things here that are impediments to the advancement. Rather than telling these, let me go something more dramatically wrong with this picture than any of that.
It's an ugly one. I don't like it.
Why is it?
Personally.
Yeah, but why is it, Catherine, that those persons that have a proficiency in running their mouths, like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, are heroes in our community, and people like Dr. Ben Carson? Who is this guy? Who is that man? That masked man? That man is the #1 pediatric neurosurgeon in the world.
Did you get the email I forwarded to you? I got the email. What they said about him?
Yeah, and why is he in Uncle Tom? And this guy is the most renowned pediatric neurosurgeon in the world. And what has Jesse Jackson ever accomplished? Leo Terrell, that's you out there in Los Angeles. Let me say something about what you did on Hannity last week. You were on there talking about Hannity. You made this guy, talking about Ben Carson. You made him. The guy took his shoe off and was getting ready to I thought it was in Iraq, and that was up. He was getting ready to throw the shoe at George Bush.
Was Ben Carson on his show or something?
No, but he was chastising. He's on there with Nigel Ennis of the Corps. And Nigel Ennis sitting there calm.
What is Ben Carson speaking about? I don't mean to interrupt you, but because I want to hear both sides.
Speaking about personal responsibility, they don't want to hear it.
Like they did with Bill Cosby. John, when Bill Cosby came out and was talking about
he shut up too.
Standing up for personal responsibility, they shut him down.
They shut him down. You see, because it's got to be, can't talk about personal responsibility. See, Ben Carson's story, and I read his book called Gifted Hands.
They had the movie on last night or the night
That's why everybody
before.
knows him. I know him from his book. Everybody can
I got the book too.
Those visual learners, you go watch the movie. I read the book, and his story is compelling.
I gave everybody I knew that time that book.
And his story is that he was a 5th grade student, special ed, thought he was dumb, and everybody would agree with him in his classroom, but his mother didn't agree with him, and she made him and his brother too start writing reports. They didn't know she couldn't read the reports, and every Friday they had to pass a report in they had done on some book that they had read. And at first he says that I didn't like the idea of reading. I want to be out there with my friends playing football. but his mother wasn't buying that she had 2 boys and they were both dumb. And before he knew it, he was on his way to becoming the pediatric neurosurgeon, and his brother's the engineer, because they worked themselves out of the condition they were in into another condition, and the opportunity was there to reward them for their efforts if they put forth the work. We don't want to hear that.
But he had a...
they want to hear you can't do anything in America.
As a youth, he had a very bad temper, too.
Yeah, and almost killed somebody.
And also he wanted to jump on his mom.
Tell me that story and tell me how he got over it. That way I can learn when I get to know.
He got over it. He said he prayed to the Lord about it.
Yeah.
Help him with his temper.
Yeah, I have a...
That's in the book, how he got over it.
Bringing the point, though, you bring about Ben Carson praying and, and having that as a help. And I mean, I believe in that. But it's really ironic, too, that the white liberal elite frown upon anybody who's religious, who's white, but they go to the black churches all the time, and the black churches welcome them with open arms. One hand, they'll attack the white churches who are practicing Christianity, and the white liberal, the left elite will go to the black churches to get their support. They got to be looking down the nose at them secretly because they're openly scorning the white churches. So how's that? And people are not. I mean, y'all got all these black pastors who invite these people get these people into their churches. They can't see that they're attacking Christianity and the belief system right at the core, but allowing them to speak from their pulpit. Yeah, I think that's bizarre.
It is. Christianity is under attack.
Yeah, going back
more deeper than a lot of people even realize how much it is under attack.
We have 45 years. We said King was assassinated 45 years ago on April the 4th. We have 45 years where the black community has been conditioned into a different mindset than what it had prior to these bombs, these opportunists, these race hustlers, these peddlers of our race stood up and began to take the black community in a direction from where it had stood on its moorings before it was in fact confused by these so-called leaders and taken off of its self-determination as path. And we see evidence of where that's led to. Everywhere we go in the black community, we have the duck in terms of people out here shooting now. And we never had that. I was raised in a community that was poor, didn't have a single bar up to any doors and no windows in the entire community. We were all poor. I was wearing holes in my shoes.
I think, George, what a lot of these, that guy who'd be doing that Asian guy who'd be doing that dance, and he just took the world and took it in a tailspin coming out. Doing that dance is the horse. We used to call it the horse. Mm-hmm. But see, if they don't know their history or know nothing about it, or parents ain't passed it on, because I told my grandson, that's the horse.
Yeah.
We used to do that dance. Y'all know what I'm talking about? That Asian guy, I can't think of his name. Sai something. But that's nothing but the horse. Like we used to do the pony. It's no new deal. But to these people, these youth today, they don't know nothing about it.
Because we have not.
And they just take it and they run with it. Now
because we've given up.
Thank you. They have, and that scares me because there's no the way.
There's no hope. I mean, that's what they're saying. There's no hope. And when we see somebody that has made it through what may have looked like hopelessness, and we can use that to show there is hope. They don't want to bury that.
They don't want to bury it, though.
Is a sellout, and then Tavis Smiley got on Hannity last week also, and further muddied the waters, talking about.
He talked about Ben Carson.
No, talked about. Well, he didn't want to directly confront Carson, but he wanted to kind of do the undertone. There's always that but in there. When you ask him a question, well, yeah, but it's always have to be that but in terms of them putting their foot out there to trip up anything that can come out of it positive out of this conversation. But his thing was that Clarence Thomas is writing all this foolishness without telling us, okay, what is it that he's writing that you disagree with? I read Clarence Thomas's post, and I'll tell you this: he's closer to the real civil rights movement than any of them are, because what he's doing, the reason why he's an outlaw right now, is he's holding on to what black folks once said they're not saying anymore. That's the problem there.
And we need to hold on because
we've lost our way.
It's like, thank you. We haven't lost our way. It's the youth because they don't want to listen. I was trying to give a newsletter to I was over at Staples, and that's where I get my newsletter done. And so I had some extra ones. And so it was some people that was standing around, some black people around. So I asked them just like this, are you into your history? And a couple of them said yes, and I gave them a free newsletter. I went up to this young man, and I said, do you study your history or anything? No, and I don't want to know nothing about it. So this man that I had gave one to, he started talking about this young man. That's your problem. He just went off on him. This boy got so angry at us because we trying to tell him to know what's going on. You can understand what's going on today, and then you can have hope for the future. Mm-hmm. And he got so pissed when I told his mom on us and all that stuff. And it all started with a simple thing. Do you study your history?
Well, I can definitely identify with that. I know when I was doing the program called the Black Arts Festival, we would stop the music long enough. We always built our program around music, but my thing was trying to bring a cultural understanding
yes, Lord.
In the community. So what would happen, though, is that when we would put like Malcolm X up there and have him on the screen, everyone thought there was a bathroom break. But what my students were saying? They get out of their seats and come to me where I was at the control center where we're running the show and said, Mr. Moss, why are they leaving? Because my students could not understand that when the history started to come on the screen, everyone thought this time to go to the bathroom. Anybody up there singing? My point is this, that if you do not cultivate where the ears can pick up that which is really the important part of what we should be talking about, don't think they're going to get it in the absence and void of no one ever having mentioned that. It comes into a vacuum, and they can't hear that importance because nobody's ever talked to them about it before.
The constituency at mine I learned it from the museum. Of all those years of dealing with that museum, the constituency in the city of Flint is very, very small. You see the same people. If you see some different ones, it's because they came from out of town, they visiting Flint. But you see the same people at cultural events.
Yes.
It's the same. Sure. And if the constituency, I used to really seen it with the museum. And that's why it didn't stay, because of the lack of funding.
Yeah. My sheep can hear my voice. I've seen it in too many different cases where you have a climate that you're in fact cultivating, and they gravitate toward that. I used to have students that would actually graduate and come back and sit in the classroom and say, Mr. Moss, I need this. And they come back because out here they couldn't hear these kinds of conversations going on. And they come back to, even though they had a diploma. I said I was going to read something before we get off the air, Catherine, so let me make sure that I do that, because people tell me, you say you're going to do something, and before you know it, run out of time.
We get to running our mouths.
Yeah, but
that's talking.
That's why I rush to the studio, Catherine.
I need to stop saying running our mouths, because that's what us women do sometimes. We just get to talking. We're talking.
It wasn't out of me, as we say. Catherine, let me read this to you. This is out of John McWhorter's book, and it's called Winning the Race. John McWhorter has written a trilogy, and he started out writing the book. He wrote his first book on race called Authentically Black. Mm-hmm. And then he wrote Losing the Race, and then this is the culmination of the 3 books on race he's written. It's called Winning the Race, Beyond the Crisis in Black America. On page 3 of the book, and I've underscored, I think, everything in here that I thought was important. But on page 3 of the book, he says, for our informed race warriors, and you can name some of them, which he does later on, name some of the so-called race warriors. Black America's problem is white people. That's the way these race warriors see it. He names some of them.
We are a problem.
For such people, Black America's problem then and now is the man. This is the fundamental message of countless prominent thinkers, or lack of thinkers, in scholarship and punditry on black issues, such as Michael Eric Dyson, Douglas Massey, Cheryl Cashin, Elijah Anderson, William Julius Wilson, Tavis Smiley, Ellis Coase, Tricia Rose, Robin D.G. Kelly, and Troy Duster, and others. And that's just the way they see it. Everything has got to come back to race. So anytime there's a black and white issue, then we got to get involved in that issue there. But when a woman gets locked in a trunk for 2 days, no eyebrows get raised, nobody raises any concern. When I was saying in my post today that I think we ought to be out there marching, because until that becomes of some we have to make that credible in our community as an issue. Until we do that, we're not safe, because we criticize all the conduct that's way over here somewhere, not in our community, not next door, and we forgive everything else that's hitting us in the face every day.
Does marching do any good?
Well, I'm saying that if we what we had in the past, and this is what is being talked about in the book called Two Nations, where he talks about why didn't we have the out of wedlock births that we had back in that time period, is because the black community would ostracize you.
They still do.
I'm saying, well,
not as bad as it was when I was.
No, I mean, we don't raise an eyebrow about it now, Catherine.
No, they make provision now. You can go to school and
that's forgiveness.
Still
no one makes an issue of it. I tell you what you've done in terms of making an issue of what whites do. Whites write me all the time off my post and say the things you're saying we can't say because we get beat up or we get called rape. They can't say anything right now because what blacks have done by constantly pointing a finger, they've shut not only the Klan down, they've shut down. This is what Ben Carson's talking about. They shut down genuine racial conversation that should be going on between blacks and whites. Whites are afraid to even talk about race in this country because we've shut them down, and that's what you do.
Certain words.
That's what you do when you begin to highlight things that should not go on. But I don't think you should highlight to the point where you begin to kill conversation that we should be in fact having. But that's what will occur by putting no spotlight on conduct. It licenses conduct because silence speaks volumes about the agreement. And the black community is silent in terms of the things that black people are doing to each other in every one of these cities. We don't even talk about it. And talk about demonstrating, we should be out there demonstrating on that.
I disagree with you, George, because they do be talking about it, especially the youth killing the youth. The murders that's going on. There are people out there dealing with it.
Well, let me see.
But mostly, I see it more in Saginaw than I do here in Flint.
Well, I'll tell you what you saw in Chicago. Jesse comes in every one of the cities that tells us how to get our business straight. Okay, in Chicago, they have those gangs over there that kill 500 people last year.
Didn't they kill that little girl too? What's her name? Tabitha?
The girl that was the one that was in the band, wasn't it? At the inauguration. My point. Okay, Jesse goes in every city to save the cities. When it came down to him being able to do something in Chicago where he lives. He called the president in to do his. I thought you had the answer. He kept calling the president and talking about we need to have you come in here. I thought you were the one that's leading folks, but he can't lead anything when it's black on black. But when it's white and black, if they have to make it up as they did in the George Zimmerman case, because George Zimmerman is a Hispanic. I don't care what you say about him being white. If Barack Obama is black and got black and white parentage, then Zimmerman is in fact Hispanic, yet Hispanic and white parentage. But we're going to make him white to deal with the fact, look, we under siege here.
To make it racist.
Which is what they are, in fact,
or make it racial.
Doing. John, how much time we got here? 1 minute? I knew we ran out of time, but I'm glad we had this conversation because...
Well, it was a good word today. I thank you because you gave me understanding about... this nuclear thing, because I don't want us to be complacent.
Stay your hand. You send a plane over here and see what happens. I'm not daring anybody. I triple dog dare you. You're not as bad as you said you are. You're not fooling anybody over there with your mouth stuck out and a scowl on your face. Okay, well, Kathy, I got to get out here and run home and interview your program.
And we're going to talk about Jackie Robinson.
All right, okay. And then
number
movie coming out.
42.
Okay. And movie's out now. It's coming out on the 12th.
It's coming, I think, the 14th or something. On the 14th? Okay. I got it down.
I'll be there.
Down somewhere.
Okay. We got to get out of here. John's giving me that sign again. When John starts doing this right here, he's either trying to cut his throat, which I hope he doesn't do that because we need him to come here next week to do the show.
Usually he'll put a sign up and say, you got 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. And he
starts doing this right here. Either.
Either trying to cut his head off or that means I have to get out of here. Okay, we got to get out of here. Until next time, I want you to follow your dream. Because if you don't follow your dream, you'll never know what's on the other side of the rainbow.
Amani, which means peace.
Always.